remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active.
Pita Basu, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji?
I'm sorry that I am late. I'm sorry.
No, no problem. Thank you for joining.
Yes.
So we are reading Bhagavad Gita chapter 14, verse number 22 to 25. And we just finished reading verses. We are reading translation and purport now. Undisturbed through all the reactions of material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friends and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna submitted three different questions. Yesterday we heard in Prabhupada in Pyari Prabhu's class about these three questions. So we will see what Lord has to answer, and the Lord answers them one after another in these verses. Krishna first indicates that a person transcendentally situated has no envy and does not hanker for anything. When, when a living entity stays in this material world, embodied by the material nature, when he is actually out of the body, then he is out of the clutches of the material modes of nature. But as long as he is not out of this material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord so that his identity with the material body will automatically be forgotten. When one is conscious of material body, he acts only for sense gratification. But when one transfers the consciousness to Krishna, sense gratification automatically stops. One does not need this material body, and he does not need to accept the dictations of the material body. The qualities of the material modes in the body will act, but as a spirit soul, the self is aloof from such activities. How does he become aloof? He does not desire to enjoy the body, nor does he desire to get out of it. Thus, transcendentally situated, the devotee becomes automatically free. He need not try to become free from the influence of the modes of the nature, of the material. He need not try to become free from the influence of the modes of material nature. Jai Prabhupada. So this was the yesterday's verse, chapter 14, 21, 21st verse. So wherein yesterday Pyari Prabhus went through this verse where Arjuna is asking, Kair linges trin guna etan atito bhavati prabho kim achar katam chaitams trin guna ati vartate. So Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, by which symptoms one known who is transcendental to these three modes, what is the behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature? These were the three questions that were asked by Arjuna, and we will just go through and we will see some of the verses from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So first, as we just went through the verse, prakasham cha pravrittim cha moham eva cha pandava na dvesti sampravrittani na nivrittani kanshati. So this was the first verse wherein Bhagwan Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that prakasham means illusion, pravritim means attachment. Pravritim, actually in Sanskrit, if we say pravritti, pravritti means attitude. And pravritim here Prabhupada is referring to it as an attachment. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse number 37. What is the reason for attachment? That is attachment. When I am telling attachment, there can be two types of attachment. One is spiritual attachment, another attachment is material attachment. When it comes to material attachment, the root cause of this material attachment is false ego. And we have a verse, Bhagavad Gita verse in chapter 3 verse number 37. Prakrite kriyamanani gunakarma sarvasah ahankara vimudatma kartaham miti manyate. Wherein the spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. So this is the reason why a person a person thinks that he is um, a person thinks that he is the doer because of his false ego. False ego means I am the doer, I am doing this thing. But actually a person needs to understand that the body and the soul, they are two different aspects. And when body is nashwar, or the body will die soon. So there are two verses, 14.14 in the same chapter, uh, 14.14 and 14.15, wherein in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining about the what is the death. So we will go through those verses, but before that we will see a person who is attached because of false ego. And the nature of this attachment is so strong. It's not only for the humans who are living on this planet Earth, but it applies to the uh, to the uh, to the heavenly planets also. One example or one story comes about the Lord Indradev. When Indradev when Indradev, he committed an offense to his guru Brihaspati, and Brihaspati cursed him to take birth as a hog on this material planet. And then he took a he as the curse was, he took a birth. Indradev took a birth as a hog, and then slowly he started getting attached to his body. Externally, if we see that the the body of the the body of the Indradev, from his effulgent body of king of Indra, king of heavenly planets, he became a hog, and this still he was enjoying his life. So he was having his wife, his kids, his relatives, friend circle in that same dirty, filthy area, but he was still attached to the body. And Brahmaji came to take him back, but still he said that he will not go. He would like to stay in that body. So later on, later on, Brahmaji had to kill that hog, and then give him his body back, Indradev. And later on, when he got this realization that he was Indra, then he was thinking that the body which he was attached to was not an appropriate thing. So similarly, it applies in our case also. The attachment are so strong that it is very difficult to come out of it. And when we talk about attachments, So yesterday there was a small discussion also about attachment and detachment. So we will see. And a couple of words that I took from yesterday's class. One was distress. Pyari Prabhuji talked about a lot of distress, and this distress is something which is very difficult to manage. We see, different treatments coming in for different diseases, but distress or stress is something which is very difficult. And we see a lot of this bad things are happening. And especially, I just want to give one example. One famous actor in Bollywood, he had a nice, very good career, and very well educated, and also like a friend of Ankur Prabhuji. So he recently committed suicide. So that was an example of distress or stress, what it can lead to. Like, it can lead to a person can commit an abominable act, because of if he is under this distress. So that's why spirituality is very important, so that we are connected with our spiritual life, and so that we don't feel stressed out in our difficult phase. So so here also in this verse also, um, there is second verse. If you see, udasina vadasina. Udasina means udas, uh, as if neutral, asina situated. So in happiness or in distress, a person should be neutral, and this is not very easy, especially if you are in a happy mood, or your life is going through happy phases of life. You will many of not many of us may feel that arrogance is coming into our heart. But if you are in difficult stage, then also distress stage, for example, if something happens, something very bad happens in your family, then it is very difficult to maintain your spiritual life. Because um, I was today only I was hearing one of my friend, his father passed away, and because of this COVID situation, they are not able to go and do the last rites. And this is something, as long as who we won't realize the pain of that person unless and until we, or someone very close to us goes through that phase. So I mean, it's very difficult. So these sort of when these sort of distresses come, so it is very difficult to control our mind. And if a person is not properly situated in spiritual life, and when we talk about spiritual life, that doesn't mean just following some rituals. It means your consciousness should change for the good. So that is where it is very important. We may apply tilak and wear kantimala, but still we won't be we I mean, if our consciousness is not rightly situated, then in those difficult situation, we won't be able to manage. We will end up doing something bad which is not expected. So that is one thing we should all understand, that even difficulties as well as happiness, they will come and go. They have to go. If happiness comes, there will be soon there will be waiting something bad thing to come. So these are all part of life, and it is a niyati. So we need to just take it lightly, and just be connected with our guru, our seniors, and our friends, well wishers. So you should be well connected, and on top of that, above all, you should always be connected with Krishna, and Krishna is the one who will guide you through all your difficult phases. And there is a death also. I would like to talk about as a chapter, verse number 14.4, 14.14 and 15 verse. Just one second. Yada sat Yada sattve pravartate tu pralayam yati deha bhret tadotat tadotatma tadotatma vidam lokam amalam pratipadyate. This is wherein the translation is, when one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains the pure highest planets of the great sages. So Krishna is telling that you need to transcend, and when death here, when death is being talked, death of the material body, because there is no death to the soul. Soul is immortal, and it cannot die, and nobody can kill it. So the death, when we are talking, is death in the mode of goodness. That in the mode of goodness means the body, a person does his karma. Karma, every action has a equal and opposite reaction. So based on his karma, a person will also get the death. And death in the mode of goodness, he will go higher in the higher planetary system. And the next verse, 14.15, Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha pralalinastamasi mudhayonisi jayate. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. When one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. So here Lord Krishna is telling that he's explaining about the death also. That can be in the mode of goodness. If it is in the mode of goodness, he will elevate to higher planets. If it is in the mode of passion, he needs to take birth. And then if it is in mode of ignorance, then a lower species, that person will be born. So that is the situation. And when one person is in transcendental, so that person, he doesn't care how his death is happening. And he will be we need to go above, beyond this goodness, passion, and ignorance. So transcendence, as long as you are, for example, when we say death in the mode of passion, ignorance, or goodness, how can one identify whether the death is in mode of goodness and passion and ignorance? Some things are, when a person dies in the mode of goodness, it would be, soul will pass from his mouth or eyes. Second very important thing is, he will hear Krishna through someone else, or in his memory he will think about Krishna. So one thing which I was telling my mother about is, I was giving an example of Prabhupada. So here, Prabhupada, if you see some of his video, Prabhupada, during his end time, end time means it's very difficult phase. you don't have control over your senses, neither you have control over your tongue, and you don't think any, I mean, you won't be able to articulate even a proper sentence. So it is like that difficult stage wherein, your body is paining, and entire all your body parts are paining. Even if you see Prabhupada in that last phase of his life, still he was translating. So I gave this example to my mother, so to just motivate her. So that was one thing wherein it inspired a lot, because you will have lot of mood swings. Mood swings means sometimes you will feel happy, and sometimes you will feel very sad, very low, and all these things. Lot of you will also feel very angry, because the soul has stayed in this body for so long, and you, with this body only, you have done so many activities, so many strong things. You are able to lift, like some 50 kgs of weight. But with the same body, when it is nearing to the death, at that time you won't be able to lift your arm and turn, you know from one side to another. It is so difficult. So at the end, what will be helpful? So during the death, if a person is not situated rightly, then one of the three things will happen. So if suppose in his whole life he is being successful, his career is good, but at the end if he dies in an ignorant way, not thinking about Krishna, then what is going to happen? He is going to go down go down in the species. I mean, he needs to take birth as an animal. So based on the, I mean, their law of karma will come into picture. So those things a person needs to understand, invest properly his time, and then take wise decision, which take wise decision and make right choices. Whether it is, it will benefit him spiritually, or it will only benefit him materially. So those things needs to understand. So only way he can understand is by reading Bhagavad Gita, by connecting with sadhus, or doing sadhu sangha. So those are the things wherein a person will elevate. One another thing I would like to mention, as we are talking about the death part, just one second. when uh, when death happens, so one thing which can be done is, uh, like tulsi leaves, or tulsi sticks can be taken, and then it can be put on in their mouth, uh, on the chest and on the head, and then they can cremate the body as they want. And one thing is, tulsi is very pure, and tulsi is also called as kalyani, uh, because there after that, when the ceremony, when those rituals happen, you need to change all the threads, like you will change the thread genuine and everything, all the yagya threads needs to be changed. But only one thing that remains pure is the tulsi or kantimala. It is said, na sauchyam vidyate tasya yatasya tulsi brahma rupani. So tulsi is called as brahma rupani. So you don't need to, tulsi is always pure, na sauchyam. So tulsi will remain always pure, so you don't need to worry about that. So I would also, like to tell, so all the Vaishnavas keep tulsi in your at your home. That is very important. So you can put tulsi leaves in the when a person dies, in his mouth, in his or her mouth. So those things will really benefit. You can't do much at that time, but during death, these are the things which are very important. So everything, so I mean, do your karma based on whatever qualities Krishna has given you, like whatever strength Krishna has given you, but also keep progressing in your spiritual life. So in this whenever so happiness or distress, so it is very difficult to maintain one's consciousness if we are not rightly situated. We need to understand that this body is going to go, but soul never dying. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tatha dheyantara prapti dhirastatra namayati. So we see a lot of words when how this body is changing from a child from a child to the old age. So that whole transformation of one person. Similarly, the changes as this body doesn't fit, doesn't suit the soul, so it will go ahead into another body. So that is a change. So we need to make sure that we understand those things. Now there are some there is one famous verse which is in India, which is popular. नरस्य आभरणं रूपं नरस्य आभरणं रूपं रूपस्य आभरणं गुण गुणस्य आभरणं ज्ञानं ज्ञानस्य आभरणं क्षमा. Beauty is an ornament of human, and good qualities is an ornament of beauty. Knowledge is an ornament of good qualities, and forgiveness, above top is forgiveness, is an ornament of knowledge. In other words, good looking person is useless without good knowledge, and good qualities will seem more nice with knowledge, and above all, forgiveness or kind hearted will make will make will make above good qualities person a real good person. So example is Kaikei. Kaikei Kaikei was a very beautiful woman in Ramayana. So Kaikei was a very beautiful woman, but her qualities, she didn't had good qualities. So that's why what happened, she ended up sending Rama in forest for 14 years of vanvas. So that is the heinous act she did. The reason why she did, one of the reason is because her association was not good. The association, she was associating with mantra, and mantra always used to poison her mind. The most uh, the person whom she loved most, she ended up committing offense or giving a lot of trouble to the same person. So it is the situation. And that is one example I would like to mention. And so something which uh, there is one more verse, detachment, on detachment, and this is little confusing. Yesterday also we were hearing little attachment and detachment part. So Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, verse number 7. So it says, very simple thing it specifies. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnanayatastu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Ahitakim. This, I'll repeat the translation if you want once again. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. When we say detachment from the world, there is no detachment as Alarnath Prabhuji yesterday was telling. Detachment is nothing but attachment. We are changing the course of attachment from material relation to the spiritual relation. We are getting attached to Krishna. That is the detachment part. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 25 and verse number 20. So here also we can see, I have this verse. Prasyanam prasannam ajaram prasham atmana kavayo vidhu sa eva sadhu sa krito mokshadvaram aparvatam. Every learned man knows very well that the attachment of the material world is the greatest entanglement of the spiritual soul. But the same attachment, when applied to the self realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. So, this is one another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam which specifies, but the earlier verse answers, you know, answers everything. So Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnana Yatastu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Ahetukim. So you will get the detachment, because if we are trying artificially, we also see these symptoms, or when a person is addicted to something, when he tries from his endeavor, most of the time, many times he fails. But the same we have seen, like when a person takes to Krishna consciousness, automatically the tendencies, for example, killing of innocent animals, so just for the sake of food, so the person automatically, those feelings will start appearing in him. He doesn't want to hurt other animals, so that's why he will stop eating those things. We have seen that, in ISKCON, that many people, like who were addicted to a lot of things, so they just left everything and they became a good devotees, very senior devotees. So that's the power of Gaudiya Sampradaya, where in this Sampradaya we have the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, like, if we just keep praying and keep associating with devotees, keep doing sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, hoy, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. So lot of there are a lot of references um, which have been given, so we can always refer to these references. We have lot of books: Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So those books can be read properly, and can a person can get knowledge. So another verse, there is another verse is uh, Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, verse number 6. Questions for who are unsuccessful yogi. Arjuna asked this question. So what if, like, if we start doing our devotional service, but remain unsuccessful? So that also Arjuna has asked for us. Ayati Shraddhavapeto Yoga Chalita Manasa Aparyapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gachati. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what is the destination of an unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness, and thus does not attain the perfection in mysticism?" So if an unsuccessful yogi is there, so that is also answered in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, verse number 41. Parya prapaya prapya punya kritam lokan ustid ushit tattva shashvata sama suchinam smritinam gehe yoga brahastate vijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into the family of righteous people or in the family of rich aristocracy. So, so still there is always benefit in in performing devotional life, and many times it might happen that we are also I mean, not we, a person like me, are also succumbed to the maya, or the to the modes of nature. So mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness. Sometimes, though you are performing spiritual life, though you may end up in doing something which is not good for your spiritual life. So in that case also, you can't do something there. Okay, you can't change that. Whatever offenses happened. So only way to change is do more bhakti. And uh, and those that thought should keep on you should keep on doing tapasya and austerities, by chanting more, by reading more, by associating with devotees, and by being very simple, living simple. So those thoughts we can cultivate, and a person can slowly, by doing more bhakti, he can elevate. One example is uh, about Ratnakar, who turned into Valmiki. So Ratnakar was a person. He was a hunter. He used to kill animals. But later on, by the mercy of Narad Muni, his guru, he started meditating. He was not able to utter the word Rama. So then Narad Muni said, "To you repeat, say Mara." So Mara, Mara, Mara. So that in turn changed into Ram. So then we see Ratnakar, from a hunter, he got so elevated that he wrote he wrote Ramayan, which is, one of the very important scriptures uh, in Sanatan Dharma. So I would. Do we have any questions?
I have one question, Sunder Gopinath, Prabhu. You said someone who dies in the mode of goodness, thinking about Krishna, but according to the Bhagavad Gita verse that you were reading, someone who dies in goodness goes to the heavenly planets. But if they're thinking about Krishna, they're going to Krishna, right?
Yeah, that's correct. But when we, I mean, when we, yeah, you are right, Ketamala Mataji. And when a person dies, so that person, if he is uttering Krishna, one example we can say is how Bhishma Dev left his body. He saw Krishna. So it depends upon also your desire. So if you say Krishna, and definitely you will get some benefit. So I mean, if your desire, if my desire is to go back to Godhead, definitely, that will happen. If I have committed all the, all the, I have maintained my life in such a way, so then I'll be going back to Godhead. But suppose by taking name of Krishna, if I want to just go to some higher planets, so that is also possible. So it depends upon how we desire.
Oh, what you're desiring also at that time, you're uttering Krishna, you're saying.
That
makes a difference, yeah.
Like, for example, Dhruv Maharaj, Krishna gave his association, but also gave him other planet. So, I mean, that's what the desire part I would like to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. So if there is no other question, then I would like to say, as we have another 9 minutes, one example about transcendentalist. One, I mean, as a devotee, we should never judge a person from his appearance, or from his behavior. I mean, behavior means just attitude. I mean, dress, external part. One example is Jagannath Das Babaji. So and famous from Jada Bharat. So they were behaving like mad people. They will not connect with people. So externally we might think that they are like you know not so intelligent people, but at the spiritual level or at the soul, at the subtle level, their consciousness may be way higher than what we think. So one way in which a person can become transcendentalist, disconnecting, that is one of the examples we can see from Srimad Bhagavatam and Gaur Kishore Das, Jagannath Das Babaji. So where they were not they were not mingling with social people, but they were trying to get disconnected and focus their mind completely on Krishna, because Maya is so subtle that practically it is impossible to uh, you know get away from her. So as long as we have this material body, uh, in purport also Prabhupada mentioned, we will always be under the clutches of Maya. So as though subtly also we can digress from the path of spirituality, from the spiritual. We may think that path is spiritually correct, but our mind is fooling. So that's why we need to be very careful and always surrender to Krishna. Or one way of surrendering to Krishna is surrender yourself to the senior Vaishnavas and follow in their footsteps. So those will certainly help in our life. And there are many things as we discussed. So any comments anyone would like to give? Otherwise, I can read one more verse, which is also related to Traigunya, means again three modes. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistre Gunyo Bhavarjuna, Nirdvanvo Nitya Sattvasto, Nirayoga Kshema Atmavan. Traigunya pertaining to these three modes of material nature. Visaha, on the subject matter. Veda, Vedic scriptures. Nistraguna, transcendental to these three modes of material nature. Bhaya, be Arjuna, O Arjuna. Nirvandanaha, without duality. Nitya Sattva Sthaha, in the pure state of spiritual existence. Niryoga Kshema, free from the ideas of gain and protection. Atmavan, established in the self. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes of material nature. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety. And be established in the self. So this is what Krishna is replying that you need to be above all these three modes. Because one of the example I would like to give is when in Krishna book, in one of the stories where Brahmanas were very highly educated and very renounced, and they had intellectually they were very high. They were performing yajnas, but at the same time there were Brahmana wives who were not well versed in Vedic scriptures, and but their heart were totally surrendered to Krishna. So there, Krishna gave mercy to the Brahmana wives. Not, when Krishna asked them to give me food, so Brahmanas didn't give, but their wife, they gave all the offerings to Krishna. So, so that's how we can see, uh, with intellectual jnana is always good, but with that you should always that jnana should also also be followed with Bhakti Yoga. So that's why Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga, and for Kali Yoga it is very simple, and anyone can follow. So there is no restriction as such. So that is one of the easiest way wherein one person can elevate himself or herself to the spiritual platform. So Bhakti Yoga can be easily followed. It looks easy, but it is not so easy. But comparatively, wherein in Hatha Yoga, wherein you need to do a lot of things and a lot of tapasya, a lot of penances you need to do with your body. So those things, same thing. You need to just divert it to simple bhakti. Just follow, chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, follow 4 regulative principles, and eat prasad. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Srila Prabhupada said that the philosophy is simple, but the application is difficult.
I agree, Gita Malamant. It is sometimes it is only because the way we have molded our life. That's why simple things also becomes very difficult in these days. And one thing is Krishna always helps to the person who is not so. I mean, he will help everyone who is a devotee, but a special mercy is there if a devotee is simple and not so smart in this material world, what we call smart people. If he is not smart, also Krishna will surrender. Krishna will give him full help. One example is Tukaram Maharaj, one of the saint from Maharashtra. So he was a simple person, but Krishna protected him always. And also Prahlad Maharaj, like he was simple, but Krishna, I mean, an innocent boy, what knowledge he will be having? Still, like he did so much of tapasya, and Krishna helped him in every situation.
Yeah, and there is some stories about competition between Namdev and Tukaram. And Namdev, I think, was a little bit proud, and Tukaram was simple, like you said. But Krishna, and one time, like I think Krishna showed Namdev that Tukaram was better than him or something. There's a story like that my grandmother used to tell me.
Yeah, like Tukaram Maharaj. One minute is there. I'll tell one small story. So I forgot the name, but Lord Vittal, Bhagwan Vittal, is standing on a brick. So this devotee was Tukaram Maharaj. Oh, I'm recollecting the name. So that devotee Pundalik. So Pundalik was massaging his parents' feet, and then Lord Vittal came. So Lord Vittal told him, I mean, when anybody comes to our home, we just offer him a seat. But he was busy in serving his parents. So then he threw a brick, and then on that brick only Lord Vittal is standing. So Lord Vittal, if you see, he is in a standing position. So that's the beautiful form of Lord Vishnu as a Vittal. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And please forgive me for any mistakes. There were a lot of issues with my laptop. Thank you and sorry.
We would also like to welcome you back amongst us. It's nice to have you. And we were just wondering when we would hear from you again. And here you are.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Have a nice night. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome back.
पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो नमः जय
Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, we'll have to